Hello and welcome back to the podcast. Today, we are going to talk about something that almost everyone experiences at some point in life: the fear of failure. It is a quiet fear, but also a powerful one. It can stop us from trying new things, from following our dreams, and even from growing as people. In this episode, we will explore what fear of failure is, why we feel it, and most importantly, how it can hold us back without us even realizing it. Let's start with a simple question: what is failure? Many people think failure means losing, making a mistake, or not reaching a goal. For example, you might fail an exam, not get a job you applied for, or make a mistake during an important presentation. These situations can feel uncomfortable or even painful. But failure itself is not just the event. It is also how we think and feel about that event. Fear of failure is the strong feeling of worry or anxiety that we might not succeed. This fear often appears before we even try something. It tells us things like, what if I am not good enough, or what if people laugh at me, or what if I try and it does not work? These thoughts can feel so real and so scary that we decide not to try at all. In this way, fear of failure can stop us before we even begin. Many of us learn to fear failure when we are very young. At school, we are often rewarded for correct answers and good grades. When we make mistakes, we might receive bad marks or criticism. Slowly, we start to connect mistakes with shame or embarrassment. Instead of seeing mistakes as a normal part of learning, we begin to see them as something bad that must be avoided. This way of thinking can stay with us into adulthood. Another reason we fear failure is because of other people's opinions. We live in a world where we are often judged by our results. People may ask us about our job, our salary, or our achievements. Social media can make this even worse. We see photos and stories of people who seem successful, happy, and confident. We rarely see their struggles, their doubts, or their failures. As a result, we may feel that everyone else is doing better than us. This comparison can increase our fear of failing in front of others. Fear of failure does not always look dramatic. It does not always mean crying or feeling panic. Sometimes, it shows up in very quiet ways. For example, you might avoid applying for a new job because you are afraid of rejection. You might not start learning a new language because you think you are too old or not smart enough. You might stay in a comfortable but boring situation because at least it feels safe. These small choices, repeated over time, can shape your entire life. One of the biggest problems with fear of failure is that it limits our opportunities. When we are afraid to fail, we often choose the easiest or safest option. We might choose a job that is secure but not interesting. We might avoid challenging projects at work. We might not start a business, travel alone, or speak up in meetings. In the short term, this feels comfortable. We avoid stress, risk, and possible disappointment. But in the long term, we may feel stuck, bored, or even regretful. Imagine two people with the same talent and the same dreams. The first person is willing to take risks. They apply for different jobs, even if they are not sure they will get them. They try new hobbies and are not afraid to be bad at the beginning. The second person is afraid of failing. They wait until they feel 100% ready. They avoid situations where they might look inexperienced. After a few years, these two people may have very different lives. Not because one is more talented, but because one was more willing to risk failure. Fear of failure can also affect our self-confidence. When we avoid challenges, we do not give ourselves the chance to grow or improve. As a result, we may start to believe that we are not capable. This belief can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. We think we are not good enough, so we do not try. Because we do not try, we do not gain new skills or experiences. Then we say to ourselves, "See? I was right. I cannot do this." This cycle can be very hard to break. It is important to understand that failure is a normal and necessary part of learning. Think about how children learn to walk. They fall many times. They do not say, "I fell once, so I will never try again." They simply stand up and try again. Over time, they become stronger and more confident. As adults, we sometimes forget this simple truth. We expect ourselves to succeed immediately, and when we do not, we feel disappointed or ashamed. Many successful people have experienced failure, often many times. Famous writers had their books rejected. Business owners lost money before they became successful. Athletes lost important matches before winning championships. The difference is not that they never failed. The difference is that they did not let failure stop them completely. They learned from their mistakes and kept moving forward. So how exactly does fear of failure hold you back? First, it can stop you from taking action. You might spend a lot of time thinking, planning, or worrying, but never actually start. You may tell yourself that you are waiting for the perfect moment. But the perfect moment rarely comes. Opportunities often appear when we are not fully prepared. If we always wait to feel ready, we may wait forever. Second, fear of failure can make you give up too early. Maybe you do start something new, like learning to play the guitar or studying for a difficult exam. But when you face the first problem or make the first mistake, you feel discouraged. You may think, "This is too hard. I am not good at this." Instead of seeing the difficulty as a normal part of the process, you see it as proof that you should stop. In this way, fear of failure turns small problems into big barriers. Third, fear of failure can affect your mental health. Constant worry about making mistakes or being judged can create stress and anxiety. You may feel pressure to be perfect all the time. This pressure is not only tiring, but also unrealistic. No one is perfect. When we try to avoid all mistakes, we often feel exhausted and unhappy. We may also become very hard on ourselves, using negative and critical language in our thoughts. Now that we understand the problem, let's talk about what we can do about it. The first step is to change the way we think about failure. Instead of seeing failure as the opposite of success, we can start to see it as part of success. Every mistake teaches us something. It shows us what does not work and gives us information about how to improve. If you think of failure as feedback instead of a final result, it becomes less scary. Another helpful step is to set realistic expectations. Many people imagine that successful people are always confident and always know what they are doing. In reality, most people feel uncertain when they try something new. It is normal to feel nervous before a big presentation or a job interview. Feeling afraid does not mean you are weak or unprepared. It means you are stepping out of your comfort zone, and that is where growth happens. You can also start with small risks instead of big ones. If the idea of failure feels very scary, try to challenge yourself in smaller, safer ways. For example, you could share your opinion in a small meeting before speaking in front of a large group. You could apply for one job that interests you, even if you are not sure you will get it. Each small step helps you build confidence and shows your brain that failure is not as dangerous as it seems. It is also important to be kind to yourself. Many people who fear failure are very critical of themselves. They use harsh words in their thoughts, saying things like, "I am so stupid," or "I always mess things up." Imagine speaking to a friend this way. It would feel cruel and unfair. You deserve the same kindness that you would offer to someone else. When you make a mistake, try to speak to yourself in a more supportive way. You can say, "I made a mistake, but I can learn from it," or "This was difficult, but I am trying my best." Another powerful way to reduce fear of failure is to focus on the process, not only on the result. When we only care about winning or being perfect, every small mistake feels like a disaster. But when we focus on learning, practicing, and improving, mistakes become a normal and even useful part of the journey. For example, if you are learning English, your goal should not be to speak perfectly from the first day. Your goal should be to communicate better than you did yesterday. Every conversation, even the imperfect ones, helps you improve. You can also learn a lot by talking to others about their failures. You might be surprised to discover that people you respect and admire have faced many problems and disappointments. When we only see the final success, we forget about the long and difficult path that came before it. Hearing real stories of failure can make you feel less alone and help you understand that mistakes are a shared human experience. It may also help to remember that most people are too busy thinking about their own lives to judge you as much as you imagine. We often believe that everyone is watching us and noticing our mistakes. In reality, people are usually focused on their own worries and problems. This does not mean that no one will ever judge you, but it means that the fear of being judged is often much bigger than the real situation. Let's imagine a simple example. You want to start a small online business selling handmade products. You have many ideas, but you are afraid that no one will buy your products or that people will leave negative comments. Because of this fear, you keep waiting. Months or even years pass, and you never start. In this case, the fear of failure has already caused a kind of failure. You lost the chance to learn, to grow, and maybe even to succeed. On the other hand, if you decide to start, you might face problems. Maybe your first products do not sell well. Maybe you make mistakes with prices or shipping. But each problem teaches you something. You can improve your designs, your marketing, or your customer service. Over time, you become more experienced and more confident. Even if the business does not become very successful, you still gain valuable skills and knowledge that you can use in other areas of your life. At the end of the day, the biggest risk is often not failure itself, but never trying. When we look back on our lives, we usually regret the chances we did not take more than the mistakes we made. Failure may hurt for a short time, but regret can stay with us for many years. So the next time you feel afraid of failing, try to ask yourself a different question. Instead of asking, "What if I fail?" ask, "What if I learn something important?" or "What if this experience helps me grow?" Changing this small question can change your whole perspective. To summarize, fear of failure is a natural human emotion, but it becomes a problem when it stops us from living the life we want. It can limit our choices, reduce our confidence, and keep us stuck in safe but unfulfilling situations. The good news is that we can change our relationship with failure. By seeing it as a teacher instead of an enemy, by taking small risks, and by treating ourselves with kindness, we can slowly reduce its power over us. Thank you for spending this time with me today. I hope this episode has helped you reflect on your own fears and maybe inspired you to take one small step outside your comfort zone. Remember, every expert was once a beginner, and every success story includes moments of failure. What matters is not that you never fall, but that you keep getting up and moving forward.